Human willpower is weak. I mean, why do you think New Year's resolutions are notorious for being complete, utter failures? People may say things like, oh, I'm going to be healthy this year. And sure, they'll start going to the gym and maybe they'll eat a salad instead of a burger. But then the willpower starts to run out. Then they start thinking, oh, I worked hard this week. I deserve an ice cream. Or, oh, I'm too tired today. I can skip just one day at the gym, right? And then slowly but surely, their plan falls apart and they slide back into their old routines, not even a month into the new year. But wait, if human willpower is so weak, then how does anyone ever achieve anything great? I mean, people do wonderful, amazing things all the time, so how do they do it? Well, the secret is that instead of just mustering the willpower to push on towards their goal, they know how to create an environment for themselves that helps them succeed. Namely, they know how to set a proper goal. It's the exact thing I'm doing right now in order to make YouTube videos. But as of uploading, my YouTube plan has yet to see any success. So instead, I'll introduce you to my last year's New Year's resolution, namely, losing weight. At the start of the new year, I was 214 pounds, but by the end, I was a cool 187.2. That's about a half a pound every week. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. Now, the only reason that I could achieve this was because I was smart about it. But before I get into exactly what I did, I want to go over a typical New Year's resolution and into exactly why they tend to fail so badly. Let's take, for example, I want to be healthy. The first problem is that it's not specific. I mean, what does healthy even mean? Do you want to improve your diet, weight, exercise, muscle mass? If you want to make it more specific, one of the things you can do is make sure it's measurable. Will you be tracking your weight, calories eaten, time spent riding your bike? Also, what are you doing to hold yourself accountable? What factors are going to keep you on track? And is this even something that you have control over? Is it even realistic that you can achieve this goal? If you make it too hard on yourself, you'll give up real quick. And finally, is this goal time-bound? Before what deadline are you planning to realize your convictions? As I'm sure you can see now, this goal, while it sounds all well and good, is a complete mess. If you have a goal like this, how can you expect to accomplish it if you don't have a plan as to how you're going to accomplish it, and if you don't even know what accomplishing it really looks like, you know? So now we've come to my plan, a good, successful plan. There were 3 reasons why I wanted to lose weight. Number 1, I went to my doctor both in June and October of 2021. Both times I weighed 222.5 pounds, and both times my doctor told me I should probably lose some weight. 2, while I don't really care what I look like from an attractive standpoint, I mean, look at me, I figured it would probably be good to say I did something productive during the pandemic, besides like, graduate from college or whatever. And 3, if you're a real OG fan, you might remember that I used to stream like in a recliner with my PC on a board spanning the arms of my chair. And, well, my stomach used to poke up against that board and it was mildly uncomfortable, so I wanted to change that. Now, before I go on, I must say that I am not a doctor or a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. Please do not take any of this as medical advice. This video serves more as educational content on goal setting, and my experiences with weight loss may or may not reflect your own. Okay, so that should cover my legal basis. Anyway, finally on to what I actually did. Put simply, while I was not and am not an expert on weight loss, I do know the only way to lose weight is to just burn more calories than you eat. So going in, I wanted a way to measure both of these things so I could figure out what kind of changes I could do to my day-to-day life. And upon hearing this, my father was kind enough to give me a Fitbit as an early Christmas present. The very same one I wear to this day, in fact. Now, this is not an advertisement to Fitbit. You can use any number of services that have the exact same effect, but it would measure the amount of calories I burned in a day, and I could use it to keep track of the calories I ate. It also had a really handy database that you could look up food either manually or by scanning the package's barcode, which, very importantly, made it much easier to keep track of what I was eating. So I started that November and decided to revisit my plan around the time New Year's came to see how it was going. Every day, in order to consistently measure my weight, I would wake up, go to the bathroom, weigh myself, and note it down in the Fitbit app. Then I would get breakfast and I would measure out and calculate exactly how many calories were in my meal. I'd do this for literally everything I ate. Then I'd go downstairs and play Ring Fit Adventure until the game told me that it thought it was time to take a break. I then did this every day for a couple months' time. But then disaster struck. My mother had gotten COVID from some anti-masker at work and unfortunately passed it on to me during Christmas time. We were both okay because we're both vaccinated, but it did mean I couldn't exercise for the time being. So I used that time to reflect back on how I was doing, and I realized a few things. According to my data, my exercise was only netting me a few hundred calories burned per day. And while exercise is good for your health, I realized that I could go without every day and still easily be in a calorie deficit. Secondly, butter is really high in calories, just like other fats and oils. This 5 teaspoons of butter is 500 calories, about a quarter of your recommended daily intake of calories. Just using less butter when I cooked was an easy way to cut out a lot of calories. Anyway, thirdly, I found that I had lost 11 pounds over those 2 months just by keeping that routine up, even if I still ate one dessert or one meal of fast food a day. And for the entirety of 2022, I went from 214 pounds to 187 pounds by continuing to do just that. And that was literally it. No special diets or exercise regimens necessary. I was literally just being really mindful about what I was putting into my body. So instead of just willing myself to eat healthier and trying to go about it that way, I instead created a situation for myself where it made it really easy to find out what were good foods to eat and what were bad foods to eat if I wanted to have a calorie deficit. So let's bring things back to that lovely acronym from earlier. How did my plan link up to those 5 things, and how did those 5 things cause my plan to be a success? In terms of specificity, that's kind of an amalgamation of just the other 4 points, but it's important to realize that once you create your goal, it'll read less like a goal and more like just a fully fledged out plan. I'll leave mine up on screen, and you can pause here if you want to read the whole thing. As for how measurability figures in, I measured my weight every day, and I was able to measure to a certain degree of certainty how many calories I was burning from and how many calories I was putting into my body. Now, this part was super important to me. I didn't have any sense of how to lose weight. I didn't have any sense at all of what foods had extremely high calories and which foods didn't. Like before, if I just ate a donut, I didn't feel myself getting any fatter. But if I ate a donut and then logged it and then saw that it took up a whole quarter of my daily budget of calories, that sent some alarm bells off. Accountability-wise, while I was not the one making the food purchases in the house, I did have a lot of input in what my father did buy, plus the fact that he knew I was losing weight and would raise an eyebrow if I ever tried to eat an entire quart of ice cream definitely helped deter me from any rash relapses. Was my goal realistic? Well, one of my big problems going in was that I didn't know what a realistic rate to lose weight was, so instead, I just set my goal to be to always burn more calories than I ate. And whether or not that would result in a rate that I was satisfied with, well, that's why I started before New Year's Day and decided to revisit it at another time, namely New Year's. And when I found that I was losing like a half a pound to a pound every week, that was good enough for me, so I stuck with it. And that's also very important for the time-bound aspect of things. How I framed this goal in my mind drastically changed how realistic it felt. If I wanted this goal to succeed, I would need to completely change my lifestyle in regard to eating and keep that up for months and months and months before I could achieve what I wanted. Or I could just say, well, I'll just take a couple seconds to write down everything I ate every single time and go from there. Both of those things are accurate descriptions for my goal. It's just the first one seems almost insurmountable, but the second one seems super easy. I framed my goal to be in the short term so I could take things little by little, day by day, and then eventually I would get where I wanted to go without even realizing it. It's the same thing with this very YouTube channel. I've posted on social media before. I've made content before, but I gave up because I didn't get results fast. And just like with last year's goal, with this year's goal, I'm not worried about the long term. All I'm worried about is just making a good video every week. And hopefully, eventually, I'll get there. Ironically, the best coping mechanism for not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel is to just stop searching for it and focus on taking each step forward, knowing that eventually, if you keep going, you will make it. And overall, while there do exist goals that are just one and done things, like graduating from college, once you do them, you never have to worry about them again. Losing weight is not one of those goals, because even if you have a target weight that you want to achieve, you still need to keep going and maintain that weight. This involved a lifestyle change. So instead of doing something I hated and just relying on my willpower to keep going, I instead designed this goal to help ease me into a new way of living that would become unconscious over time. So, for example, if I just went on the grapefruit diet and ate nothing but grapefruit all day, every day, I would probably lose weight really quickly. But as soon as I hit my target goal, I would absolutely stop eating grapefruit and probably relapse and bounce right back. But instead, since I did it this way, just as I would expect, after I moved to Japan and lost my ability to weigh myself, and I was really busy, so I didn't really have the time or effort to try to track down the calories in all my food, I still unconsciously was avoiding less healthy options, and I still continued to lose weight. Okay, folks, before we wrap this up, I'd like to throw in a few things that I think are important, but I couldn't find anywhere else to fit them in the video. First, I want to say that this was both one of the hardest and one of the easiest things I've ever done in my life. It was really hard at first because I had to constantly remind myself to stick to the goal, which had me completely restructure how I think about food. But at the same time, I had no job, a supportive environment, and I could literally make it my entire life goal just to be healthier. Also, I don't have any anxiety or depression or eating disorders, all of which can make it very difficult to pursue goals or lose weight. Not a lot of people have the opportunity that I did, so if it feels like it's harder for you to pursue your own goals, that's because it probably is. Second thing I want to add is that if I ever found myself hungry but at my calorie limit, I would still go ahead and eat something. The reason being was that I didn't want to reward myself for skipping meals. I really didn't want to get into the habit of doing something unhealthy like binge eating earlier in the day and then just do something else unhealthy like skipping a meal to try to counteract it later. Instead, I would just go ahead and eat, go over on my calorie limit, and then I would look back, figure out what I did wrong that day, and then fix it from there. Third thing I want to add is that while I do believe my habits made when I was in the US helped me continue to lose weight in Japan, it's not that simple. Basically, there were factors other than the habits I made that probably helped me to lose weight in Japan, like the fact that I ate a healthy lunch at school every day. And the final thing I want to add before I close out is that if you do choose to weigh yourself every day, be careful. It was not uncommon for me to have the exact same weight for 3, 4, 5 days, go up in weight a little bit, and then drop down to where I expect that I would be. It was definitely more convenient for me to weigh myself every day so that I wouldn't forget. But if you're someone that's a little bit anxious about seeing your weight go up in little increments, maybe weigh yourself weekly. So, in a nutshell, pursuing your goals is not just about mustering the willpower to push your way to wherever you want to be. It's more about making a plan for yourself to make the path to your goal more enjoyable, or at the very least, more manageable. I think I'll wrap it up there, folks. As always, if you want to check out my other social media, especially my Twitch, you can do so here. Last year's resolution was a pretty good success, and I hope you can support me in the channel and make this one a pretty good success, too. Stay safe out there, folks. Bye.